Hello, I'm Dr. Gloria Horsley.
And I'm her daughter, Dr. Heidi Horsley.
Heidi and I want to welcome you to Open to Hope Conversations, the podcast.
We believe that the greatest gift you can give yourself after a loss is hope, using this moment to connect with others who have not only survived but thrived.
So let's get started. Welcome to the Open to Hope show. I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Horsley, with my daughter and co-host,
Dr. Heidi Horsley.
Heidi, we're going to talk about an important topic today, which is couples grief. Because one of the things that I have found, and we'll talk to the couple we're having on today, is that there's some kind of a giant rumor out there that couples are going to get divorced. If you have a child die or, that you will. And it's hard for couples. They're scared. So Heidi, do you want to introduce our guests?
Sure, and I'm excited because we do have a couple on, and oftentimes we don't get both the woman and the man's perspective and a couple on, so it's exciting. With us today are Kelly and Mark Parrish. They are the founders of Camberwell Grief Sanctuary, where Kelly is the CEO and Mark is the clinical director. The founding of Camberwell began after the heartbreaking loss of their daughter, Kaytryn, in 2012. In the depths of grief, Kelly and her husband, Mark, felt called to create a space where individuals and families could process loss with compassion and community, and they have created a beautiful space. So welcome, Kelly and Mark.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Absolutely.
It's really interesting to have you on, not only as someone who's gone through the grieving process but also you both have some professional leanings. I know that, Mark, you're a marriage and family therapist, right?
Correct. Yeah. I've been doing this almost over 30 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Kelly, you've trained with David Kessler as a counselor also. David's a dear friend of ours and so skilled.
He is, and he has an amazing program to train people. And I think it's important that Kelly is also an educator, because I think that some of what we do is psychoeducation when we're working with people that are grieving.
Absolutely. There's a lot of misconceptions about grief in general that I've learned. I trained. I did extra training to be a marriage and family therapist, and I had not one single class on grief, not even a class period was devoted to grief.
Yeah.
I always say that, Mark, because I teach right now at Columbia, and I've been teaching grief and loss classes for over 20 years, and they're electives. So you can graduate, like you already know, without any training and come out and say you're a grief expert.
It's insane. Death
I
happens
agree.
100% of the time.
You two are still together. Your sweet Kaytryn died 13 years ago, and you're not divorced. Miracle of miracles in the world.
It is.
What's your thought about therapists telling people that they're going to get divorced?
Well, and I think we were told that, we had to fight it because men and women grieve differently, and men want to fix things, and that's one of the biggest traps men fall into is because we can't fix it. And when our wives look at us, it's the one thing we would bring back in a heartbeat if we could, but we just can't. So you have to figure out how to do that differently. And Kelly and I have found a way. We're walking examples of hope.
A lot of people brought that up, that, how are you going to survive? What's your purpose now? What's your marriage going to be now that you have this void? And we love all of our children. Kaytryn was our oldest daughter and our only daughter at the time. So when she passed, we didn't have our two littles yet. And people kept saying, well, just, are you going to go your separate ways? What's going to happen? And it was hard, and we had to fight for months and months to figure out how to navigate this. But we knew that our love was strong enough, and our love for our daughter, it felt disrespectful to give up to her legacy.
Well, and it's the one thing that you both have in common. You both lost your daughter. How old was she when she died?
19.
Okay.
Yeah, she was a freshman at Murray State and just random accident in the middle of the day on a Monday.
Wow. So it's very sudden.
Very sudden.
My heart goes
out
to you.
One of the things that I found when my son was killed was that I would get up some mornings and I'm going to do it. I'm going to get up, I'm going to match my shoes, I'm going to go out the door. And my
Mhm.
husband would, it may not have been that day for him. And he was, you know, pulling the covers over his head, saying, we're never going to get through this. I'm never going to get through it. What are we going to do? And I'm trying to have an up day. So I found that really this balance, it was hard because it's so hard to get yourself going.
It is. And it took a long time for me to realize that we're not always going to be on the same page, because there were, in the very beginning, when he was trying to go back to work, trying to find a rhythm to life again, because it had shattered. And I remember the first day back to work, he woke me up and said, I just want you to try to get out of bed today. Just try that.
Mhm.
And I was so angry that he even suggested that I get out of bed, but I did it, I think out of anger, but I was
Yeah,
I
I
was
like
just
that.
I was like, "Okay, fine, I'll get out of bed and have a terrible day." But but I was thankful that he prodded me to do that. He knew I
Mm,
didn't want to, but you almost have to want it for the other person as well, not in a selfish way and not in a selfless way, just because we did commit our lives together all those years ago,
mhm.
and we had to figure it out, and neither one of us really are quitters.
Mm-mm.
Um, and so we knew we just had to keep fighting, but we weren't always on the same page, and that was hard.
You're reminding me of my own parents, and I wonder what
Mhm.
you all would say about this. I remember that my mom would want to bring everybody to the house and grieve in community, and my dad wanted to grieve in private,
Sure.
and that created problems. I wonder how it was for you with that.
Yeah, I think some people recharge their batteries in community and some people will recharge their batteries independently, and neither one are necessarily wrong, but just being able to be accepting of the balance of the two. Because for one, like I said, if your emotional battery is at 20% and you have to hang out with people, like it's all the way to zero. But for some people, if they're 20% and they hang around others, they become 80%. And so you just got to figure out how to do that balance of being able to pick each other up and take the breaks when you need to.
Right. And to
I
be
remember,
honest about it.
yeah, I remember the first year anniversary of Scott's death, I invited all his friends over for pizza.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
My husband was not happy. I mean,
Oh no.
he didn't say a lot about it, but he just kind of hung back. I think with my daughter, who was 14 at the time, as I remember, they kind of hung back and didn't, want to get involved. But he didn't say a lot, but just kind of moved him. He was around, but not around the table. But he didn't enjoy that. So that is kind of a difficult trying to balance that.
Well, that first year it's something that I will say to a lot of people. That first year, the first year's a blur. You're just kind of going through the motions. Like, this is not real. This is not real. This is not real. And then the second year, it's worse because it is real. Like, she's not coming home. Like, that is real. And and I said, I wish it wasn't this way, but the second year is going to be worse because you're really going to acknowledge the holidays. Because the first year you'll just go through the motions, get through, do all the things. Second year you'll know for a fact, nope, it's going to be different now. And then the third year it starts to get better. And the passcode on my phone is 3 years and 1 day. So 3 years and 1 day, I woke up different that day. Um,
Is
and
that how it was for you, Kelly, too?
Yes and no. The first year I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
think the shock was just so severe, that I just remember it was like checking off the dates. Just we made it through Christmas. We made it through New Year's. Just get through it. And I don't really remember much about the actual events. The second year was kind of like the grief set in and the shock wore off, and it was hideous and horrible. The second year definitely was the worst. I think the third year I didn't accept it, but I knew it wasn't going to change. And so I think the third year was the year that I'd established strategies. For everything that comes up, I'm going to have a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C.
Ooh, I
And
like
when I
this.
wake up, I might not be able to do A, but maybe I can do C. But I learned from the first 2 years, just have a few options. So I don't know that it got better. It got different. Better might
I
not
like
be.
how you had the plan A, the plan B, and plan C. Okay, A is that I'll get up at 7 a.m.
Sure.
B, 8
Yeah, right.
Yeah. B,
I
I'll sleep
like,
till
I
lunch.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I
And
like this.
we always had a fire drill plan.
Yeah.
Like we'd have a lot of my daughter's friends would get married and they'd invite us to the weddings. And for example, like the father-daughter dance, it's all right, we're gonna exit the building quietly. You know, it's just like those heavy times, having a
Mhm.
plan ahead of time for plan A, plan B, plan C.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I like that.
What about
That's
when your plans don't coincide? What if you
Hmm.
want to stay at the wedding, Kelly,
Good
and
question.
Mark wants to leave, and how do you deal with that kind of thing? Or did you early
we had
on?
we had a few of those where he could stay at the table, and I think we've always had that exit plan, and typically we're together, but there were a few times when he could stay, and I just pat him and say I'll be back in 15, 20 minutes, or I go to the car and text and go, hey, when you're ready,
Mm.
I'm I'm fine with you being here, but I'm not going to be, and so when you're ready, let's scoot. And same for him. There's been times when he's like, I'm going to check out and you do what you can, and then but we've always supported each other, knowing that, if I had said we have to leave right now, I know he would respect that, and
Sure.
I would too. But we recognize that it's unique to both of us, and we
Mhm.
have to kind of find that middle ground. That's helped us, I think.
Right. I have lots of Markisms. One is, there's about 200 Markisms now, probably
I
that
love
my clients
Markisms.
get.
I have
Yes, yes,
Heidiisms
right.
also. They're
Yes,
great.
absolutely. They are fantastic. But one is to take it in, don't take it on. That's probably going to be my book title
Take,
one day. Like,
okay,
take it in,
wait, I'm
don't
writing
take
that
it on.
down. Take it in, don't take it
Don't
on. That's
take
a
it
good one.
on. So that means, take in the information, don't take it on heavily, take it on, because grief is emotional weightlifting. That's going to the gym. If you work out, you're going to change your physical body, but grief is this emotional weightlifting, and you have to learn how to lift it every day. Some days are super heavy. The weight will feel
Hmm.
tremendous. But if you allow it to change you on the inside without numbing it or running from it, then you'll grow a new set of gears inside. So that's the take it in, don't take it on. And
I
then
like that.
yeah, not taking it on, not taking someone else on either. If they're sharing information, to take in what she's sharing with me and don't take it on. Don't
Mhm.
take her on.
And don't take and don't
Right,
take her.
right.
Don't
Don't
That's
take
good
her on.
advice.
No, no, no,
don't
it's
take her
great
on.
advice.
Great advice, let me tell you.
Don't take her on and don't join her energy, it sounds
That's
like.
right. That's
Yes,
right.
yeah,
If she's in a down in a bad place, you don't have to join that. You can say, okay, there's Kelly having her experience, and
Right.
this is
right,
Mark having my experience.
yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
It takes time to learn that, though.
I bet.
It does, but it has made us stronger and healthier down the road, being able to understand it.
I hear guys say I was ready to have sex and my wife wasn't.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And apparently that's a pretty common response.
It is. Men want to connect. Like it's one way that we can connect with our wives, and like, where men will feel incredibly connected to their wives after sex, women may feel incredibly disconnected after it. So it's a delicate balance, and
Mhm.
you know, I'm a very competitive person, but I'm a patient person, so I understand that you got to be patient with that process. And I tell men a lot that it's a man's job to create the environment where sex takes place. So, the safe, secure environment where sex takes place. So, and in order for it to be safe and secure, like it's about creating that safe environment and not being pressuring in that, and to realize that it's going to be okay.
And to realize that there's a normalcy of this. They're not
Hmm.
the
Right.
only people that this is happening to. Kelly, do you have any thoughts about that?
I do. I think for the first year, I felt nothing. it didn't matter. It was across the board, whether it was our relationship or any other relationship. I couldn't invest in anything. And then I think I just needed to feel safe. So it took time. But if he had pushed it and pressured it and been impatient, I would have run the other way. But in our relationship, he loved me enough to know that we just had to grow until it felt right. I think that's the key to that. But we've had a good relationship of trust, so that helps too.
Yeah, you do have to look at your past too, and you know, and look at that. And if you've got problems, you may want to get some therapy together as a couple, you know,
Correct.
on that issue, because you may not have had that great a relationship before. I mean, you really have to look at the whole picture.
No, and it will exacerbate it, like the divide. If the divide was there, it'll be even worse afterward.
I was curious, did you have any issues around the funeral or seeing the body or that kind of thing? Were there any issues for you around that?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I'd say there's about 4 high definition images, you know, where your brain records in high definition that you can't unsee it. And for people that have experienced traumatic loss or sudden loss, like your brain will record in high definition. And so, yeah, for sure, for me, like it was seeing her in the hospital after the accident, you know, her
So
last
she
breath.
didn't die right away.
She did not.
Correct.
She actually passed away on Easter morning, which is it's a bittersweet passing in terms of like it's a hopeful day for people of faith, but it was a tough day for us because Easter represents a little bit of a trigger for us. When we know Easter decorations are coming out, we know that we're going to go through that heavy period.
Right.
It's interesting, Mark, because my brother died 1 minute before Easter, and I actually sometimes wonder if he didn't die on Easter, because you know that was what they put on his certificate at the scene of the accident. So I understand what you're saying about Easter, and it's complicated, right?
It's
It is
complicated.
complicated.
Yeah.
And she was in the hospital 6 days prior to her passing. Each day was more traumatic and worse than the day before.
Wow.
So those images will forever. The sounds. We were right next to the helicopter pad where they brought in the trauma from the accidents. And so anytime, even now, if I hear a helicopter, it buckles my knees. It probably always will because it takes me right back. But
Yeah.
I remember, and I could feel terrible about this. I've given myself permission not to. At the grave site, and as a young person, she had so many people that came. I mean,
Right.
there were so
Yeah.
many teenagers and friends and teachers. There were so many. And at the close at the gravesite service, the pastor extended everyone to come back to the church for brunch, and I stood up and said, "No, this isn't a celebration. I don't want anybody to come back." And I know that was unscripted, and I know that people there probably were like, "Oh, okay," but it didn't feel right, and
Right.
it was one of those things that just came out, and I'm sorry for the people that maybe wanted to share that moment, but as a mom who had just endured the most hellacious times, nothing about that felt right. And so I had a
Well,
hard time
Kelly,
with that.
I love that you set healthy boundaries for yourself. Because I
Mm-hmm.
just gave a workshop yesterday about setting healthy boundaries. And
Sure.
it's really hard when we're grieving to do that.
Right.
Sometimes we just go with everybody else's agenda.
Yeah. I think physically I just knew that we couldn't
Right.
endure one more moment. We'd had the longest,
Yeah.
most horrific 15 days, and we couldn't endure one more.
Was there anything that irritated you about the way the other person grieved?
Well, funny you ask. No, Mark has always tried to be strength for me when I didn't have it. And in most times that works. But when you're grieving, and I would, the guttural cry that you have
Yep.
right after, just a pain that you don't even know where it came from. There were times when I wanted to see him do that too.
Mm-hmm.
And what really happened was he tried to stay strong for me, and he would break down more quietly or more in private. And there were times when I'd just be like, could you just melt and fall apart at the same time? That it did irritate me because
Yeah.
I knew he felt it, but it just wasn't at the same time.
And I think part of that comes back to the the training that we go through. It's just like, okay, I need to be the helper, and not the herder, or the hurting one. Like it's like, all right, this is the role that I can play easily. And there's been times, and we've definitely had our moments where we've been on the complete same page in terms of melting together.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about those first 3 years again because there may be somebody who is listening right now or watching that is in the first 3 months and they're like, oh my God, my second year, I'm not even going to live through this year. Well,
Yeah.
one of the things I like to say to people is it's like you're frozen the first year, solid. The second year, you're getting better, but you're thawing out. So it makes it worse because
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
you're thawing, but your mind is able to accept. You're getting better actually because your mind is beginning, but that's what's painful. Your mind is beginning to accept, and then you move into, as you were talking about, Kelly, more acceptance and getting a plan. But it's a process. And I honestly think the first 6 years you're going
Sure.
through quite the process, and it is a process.
Hmm.
So,
Well, and, we believe in purpose to the pain. That's how we created Camberwell, is just to put purpose to our pain.
I just wanted to crumble and keep the covers over my head and never get out of bed again. And thankfully, I have family and friends who weren't going to let that happen, but they were sneaky about it. So, they invited me to exercise or to rock climb or to go camping, things that completely took me away from where I was. And they knew the nature piece would pull me out. And what I noticed is I fully believe in support groups, but for me, I wasn't ready when I went. And so as I started figuring out what helped me and what didn't help me, I kept looking around trying to find it somewhere else. I would go to the park and I would break down and wail, and there would be people on the swing set and with their puppies walking, and I was terrifying people. And it obviously didn't work, but I said there has to be somewhere where people like me, I can't be the only person, can go, be immersed in nature, be by a waterfall, be in the woods and break down and feel safe. And and then hiking and exercise, I got out of my brain for a minute. That, along with the conversations that Mark and I had about the clinical piece of it, we just kept saying, how can we mesh all this together to show people you can survive, you can still be healthy, you can find hope and beauty even when you don't feel it. You can work towards it. She passed in 2012. And interestingly enough, in 2015, I found out that I was going to have a baby.
Wasn't she 19, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So in my mid to late 40s,
Yeah.
I found out that I was going to have our second daughter.
I
And
love
we knew
this.
we had talked about starting this nonprofit, but then I'm like, okay, we have this new baby. Let's figure this out. I was actually feeding our youngest and looking at the moon, which was something that our oldest daughter, that she and we always talked about. I love you to the moon and back, and that's always just a sweet memory I have. But we had talked about it a long time, and holding this new sweet baby, I just said, we're not obviously not getting any younger, and we can't say no to this any longer. And I want these two babies to understand that you can go through the hardest of hard and still survive, not only survive, but have a beautiful life, maybe different. And so in 2018, we started really trying to figure out the nonprofit world.
Mm-hmm. Went out, it's how these grief stories and these people, when you get together, you're in a club that nobody asked you to be a part of, but it was the same for this property. So the homeowner was showing us around and says, "Tell me again what you want to do." And we said we weren't sure, and we started talking about Kaytryn, and he started crying. And then he said, "My best friend died on this property while we were hunting." He
Mm.
goes, "It's yours." And we were the third showing of like 15. And if you see the property, you understand. And he goes, "It's yours." And they canceled all the rest of the showing. It's in Bedford, Kentucky. So it's in between Louisville and Cincinnati. If you were thinking, going up that way, it's only about 25 minutes from Louisville and about 35 from Cincinnati.
Mhm.
But it's this beautiful. It went from 19 acres to 228, and so now we have 6 buildings. We have a place where couples can go stay overnight.
Whoa.
It's
7 trails.
7 trails. So people can walk on their death days. They can come out. We have trees in people's memory and benches in people's memory and um, gardens in people's memory. We do infant loss and people plant bulbs that have miscarried, and we're attempting to meet anybody where they are in their grief and create hope for them where they didn't see it before. Yes.
Camberwell.org. Last year we did a grief symposium where it was every Friday night, and it was very casual, relaxed, and we had different speakers who would come in, but you just kind of form a little family unit with the people that are there. And we talked about, ambiguous loss and what to do, as the shock wears off, different topics that just are helpful to meet you wherever you are in the grief.
I love it. Well, thank you guys so much for being on the show today. It's been amazing. I love what you're doing, and I know you're going to help a lot of people.
Thank you so
What a
much.
gift to be here. Thank you for the
Yeah,
opportunity, and thank you for all that you do.
I agree with my mom. Thank you for creating this amazing space for people and for helping people to find hope after loss.
And to find hope as a couple, because hang in there,
Mhm.
you'll make it.
That's right. You'll make it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You'll make it. You will make it.
Yeah. We want to thank everybody for joining us on this show today. And Heidi and I always want to remind you that if you've lost hope, please lean on ours until you find your own, and God bless.
I'm Dr. Heidi Horsley. You have been listening to Open to Hope, the podcast. You can follow Open to Hope on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. To learn more, visit us at opentohope.com and go to Apple Podcasts to subscribe.
I'm Dr. Gloria Horsley. Join us again next week for another Open to Hope conversation, where we invite you to lean on our hope until you find your own.